We're on. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Public Safety Building in downtown Blue Springs. This is our District 1 Town Forum. I am Dale Carter, District 1 Councilman, along with
Jerry Kaler, District 1 Councilman.
We have a lot to talk about tonight. We have a lot of folks who are watching on Facebook Live. We have a lively crowd here tonight in the City Council chambers. So we want to jump right into it. And we're going to cover about 7 things that we want to talk about tonight. Anytime you want to jump in the crowd or on Facebook, Miranda's over there watching Facebook for us, just let us know if somebody has a question. When we get through all of it, we'll take questions on the things we talk about or anything else, right?
That's right.
Okay. First of all, before we jump into this, we just had a major snowstorm in Blue Springs, and we want to thank the folks at the Public Works Department, Chris Sandy's crews. They did a fantastic job.
Absolutely. They did a superb job, and I've even had people from Independence and Kansas City that has driven in Blue Springs and Independence, Kansas City, and all over, even Lee Summit, and said that Blue Springs had the best streets from all of those. So kudos to Chris Sandys and the crews for doing a great job.
You bet. We also had a question earlier today about any storm debris, and we drilled down on that. We have not picked up storm debris since the ice storm back in 2001, if you remember that, because so many trees were down. If there is a tree that is down in a right-of-way somewhere, the city will take care of it. If not, we have made an agreement with the Lee Summit landfill that they will take your debris. So if you can take your storm debris to them, they will take care of that.
Right, exactly. And so, it's one of those issues that we just can't just happen to do, and at least we can take the stuff out to Lee Summit, and they'll take care of that for us.
Well, and also keep in mind that we have snow in the forecast for Friday night and Saturday as well, so we're about to go through this again. So I know Chris and his crews are going to be ready, and Blue Springs will lead the way as we always do. I want to jump right into the first issue. You may have seen that the City Council called a special election for April 2nd to deal with amendments to the charter. We had a charter review process made up of 9 citizens of Blue Springs, and I think they met 6 times?
6 times, yes.
Yeah. And they came up with 10 proposed amendments to the city charter, 10 questions, and those will be voted on April the 2nd. Some of them, again, the City Council passed this on to the voters because that group of citizens came up with these 10. Doesn't mean that everyone on the City Council agrees with all of them. We're going to leave it up to the voters to vote on those things. For me personally, you'll have to go all the way down to question number 6, which is the reason that I asked for an early review of the charter. We do it every 5 years. I saw something in the charter that disturbed me in April, and we drilled down on it and found that the mayor had the power to appoint both the city attorney and the city prosecutor with no oversight from the City Council. And the only way to remove those 2 positions, if need be, was with the approval of the mayor. So what question 6 says, I'll read it to you. Shall the Charter of the City of Blue Springs, Article 3, City Council, Sections 3.14 and 3.15 be amended to add requirements that the city attorney and the city prosecutor be appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of a majority of the entire City Council, and may be removed by 5/7 majority of the City Council. So that gives a little more transparency. It also gives a check and balance back to the system.
And I want to add that was my main concern also for being there at the Charter Commission meetings, was to make sure that got corrected. That was a major ordeal with me also. And then they threw in an extra other questions or statements to change everything, and there was a deep conversation, and I want to make sure everybody knows how that was brought up. Pick for that. You're already getting dinged from Facebook.
I know, I got to turn that off.
Each councilman was able to choose one person from their district to sit on this commission, and then the mayor picked 3, one from each district, and that's where the 9 people came in to play to sit on this commission. And they did a superb job with what they had to do and how long they did it, and they did it in a great short amount of time to do it. Did great.
Well, I think question 6 will help us out quite a bit in getting transparency and checks and balances back in the system. There are some things in here. Question 2, for instance, it was on the last charter review and it did not pass. And we're not sure why it didn't pass, because really all that says is when the city charter was established in 1994, there were certain benchmarks to hit for 1994, and then everything in that clause became really null and void. It's section 14 of the charter. So that's another one I would say vote yes on for question number 2. Question 1 is the pronoun question. Should council man be replaced with them, they, and their instead of his and her? So you can look into that. There's different things that they've cleaned up in the charter as well. There's a question in there about the age of the mayor versus city councilman, and the reason that we did that is in the current charter, the minimum age for a city councilman is 21.
Correct.
And the minimum age for the mayor is 25. Where that creates a problem is if you have a mayor pro tem who happens to be a 21-year-old city councilman, and the mayor resigns, dies, there's a vacancy in the mayor's office, that person would not be eligible to become mayor because they wouldn't be old enough. So there was some discussion about what age to make it. The commission said 25 for both. I know Councilman Levisay had an amendment to this which failed to make them both 21. So look at that question when you're looking as well. But there are 10 altogether, and most of them just clean up things, make us compatible with state law. But question 6 and question 2, definite yeses in my opinion.
Correct. Especially in number 6.
Yeah. Any questions on any of that, Miranda, from Facebook? How about the crowd? Everybody good? We should point out that we have District 2 represented by Kent Edmondson and District 3 represented by Mayor Pro Tem Councilman
Susan Culpepper.
Still councilman until they pass question, whatever the question was. Okay. Shall we move on to item 2?
I'll move on.
Yeah. We are very excited in District 1 with Forcia coming. Forcia will provide interiors to the Ford Claycomo plant. They'll also have some other clients as well. We are well situated right along I-70 to serve a plant in St. Louis, as well as the 2 plants here in the Kansas City metro as well. That brought about a $69 million investment, 300 to 350 new jobs in just phase 1 alone, a 250,000 square foot building, adding $13 million in new annual payroll. It's built on 25 acres previously owned by Doc Crane, which is north of I-70. The city jumped in with, it's a great public-private partnership in order to bring jobs to Blue Springs.
It's a great looking building. If you drive down the outer road there, even on I-70, it's lit up at night there just past the RV area there, and it's just a superb looking building, fits right in there.
Yeah. And when I say public-private partnership, Mark Stombaugh, who was our former economic development director, now working with the state of Missouri, he came across this opportunity, and the city jumped in with both feet. The mayor and the city council doing everything we could in competition finally with the city of Sedalia, and we won the battle, and as a result we're going to get these high-paying jobs that are going to come to Blue Springs. Now, I think it ought to be the first chapter of many, and not just kind of like this was the golden ring that we got. We have a lot of property down Adams Dairy Parkway where the MIP was supposed to go, the Missouri Innovation Project, where we could accommodate more.
Exactly, and there's a room for a lot more to go there, and this hopefully will be a stepping stone for future growth in that area, and other businesses will see that we do have a good area for growth and for businesses to come to.
Certainly. Another issue that we have in District 1 are the motels along Jefferson, and there was a lot of stuff on Facebook relative to that. The activity, the police activity going on there. There was an ordinance that was tied up in committee for a long time, and Jerry, really, you pushed the ball up the hill.
Well, we do our best trying to do that. It took 2 years to do this, and I feel that we have probably one of the best hotel motel ordinances in a 4-state. the crime prevention, Doug Heichman, and then Sergeant, who is now Lieutenant Sergeant, say that 3 times, and they did a bunch of research throughout the 4-state area to come up with a hotel motel ordinance, and basically found Branson's hotel motel ordinance fit right in with Blue Springs. I'll give you an example. A 3-month from 2017, from July 1st to October, there was in 17 there was 41 calls. In 2018 there was 18 calls for one certain motel at the same place, because of the hotel motel ordinance and because of the tier that they have to stay in a tier and do certain things to keep into that. And one of them is for the calls for service has to stay minimum in order to stay in tier 1. They go to tier 2, then you have some more guidelines that you have to do, and you go to tier 3, and you go past that and they don't comply, then they can lose their hotel motel license. But I want to say that 35% improvement in that same time frame from 17 to 18 because this hotel motel ordinance got passed. And it's a proven thing in Branson. It's been a proven. And actually Belton, Missouri has looked into adopting our ordinance and looking at it as and making it for the city of Belton. So it has, the police department has just overwhelmed with it, making, well, one police officer not real overwhelmed because he's lost making arrests and warrants because of the motels having to comply. But it is a good ordinance, and I'm thrilled that it has gone through and it passed, and seeing the success on it, and I think it's just going to continue to do that.
Yeah. And again, a lot of you on Facebook let us know about that, and your Blue Springs City Council worked hard to get that issue fixed, and I think we're on the right track there. Speaking of hotels and motels, there was a lot of discussion about the proposed Charlie's Car Wash that was going to go into the abandoned motel at 7 and 70. That did not pass, and the fear was we would have that hulking, empty motel with a lot of bad activity going on around it. The good news is the group that was going to buy it and turn it into the Charlie's Car Wash bought it anyway. So it looks like that building is going to be demolished. I don't know what's going to go in there, but we're going to work closely with them to develop something that's going to go in there that hopefully will make everybody around it happy, and we'll continue to grow Blue Springs there. But that was very good news.
Absolutely. Other developments going on in the city of Blue Springs behind the Point of Hope Church is the Northridge Cottages, the villas at Parkway, at Adams Dairy Parkway and Artie Mize, and then the third pot of Sunny Point subdivision is starting to develop with new single-family homes.
Yeah, and speaking of single-family homes, Blue Springs is leading the way here in eastern Jackson County in terms of housing starts. We were number 1 in October according to the Kansas City HBA.
Yes, 24 single-family units in the month of October alone. Blue Springs was the number 1 issuing permits for the surrounding areas in the Jackson County, and that's pretty good. There was no multi-families units permits for that year. Year to date, we have 351 permits with 15 multi-dwelling.
And you know, there is some of it going into District 1, as Jerry mentioned, but the bulk of the building is going on in District 3 on the south side of town. There is building going on in the northeast part of the city, and as a result of that, we really needed to take a look at Roanoke Drive. And he's not here tonight, but I don't know if Ken Harrell is watching on Facebook. Ken's a big Facebook guy, but he led the charge on this. He came to the city council and he brought diagrams, and I think he's got an engineering background, and he told us how Roanoke was substandard from, it's either Adams Dairy to Porter or Porter to Adams Dairy. I get that backwards.
Adams Dairy to Porter.
Thank you. All right. See?
Yeah.
All right. That's why there's 2 of us, because each of us knows a little bit of the information to give to you here. But anyway, the bottom line is we allocated $2.85 billion to fix Roanoke between those 2 points, and that money is set aside. That process is moving forward. For those folks who live in the northeast part of town, just know that Chris Sandy and his team are in the process of getting right-of-ways so that they can, build out that road that needs to be built out. And meanwhile, while we squirreled away that money from one particular year of our overlay program, the overlay program continues, and we're back on track, taking the overlay money that we have each year and spreading it out between the 3 council districts.
And we are pushing to try to push more to District 1, is that correct?
I don't know that we've got 2 of the representatives here. We probably shouldn't let that out.
Oh.
He's kidding, I think.
I don't know. Anyway, on the Roanoke, the city's talking about trying to start that between spring and midsummer 2019.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so with all of that now that's going on, we also have the parks tax that the voters passed, and we thank you for that. That half-cent sales tax with a 5-year sunset is generating much-needed money to deal with the backlog of maintenance in our parks. It's not really affecting District 1 all that much, although if you play tennis and you've been to Pink Hill Park, you know that the tennis courts were redone there, and they opened in July of 2018. And another jewel of District 1 is the field house.
Field house. Surprisingly, for me, when these stats come out, I will be the first to admit I was very surprised, and that was that the field house is actually doing everything on its own. It's not having to rely on city funds. It's actually making enough money for itself, so it's self-sufficient. And even all the new updates and things that they're doing is all actually coming out of the field house themselves, paying for that.
Well, and that's the operating side of it. There's a debt service that goes along with it. But again, this is where Eric Johnson and his team that run the city, they come up with creative answers for things. That was the old indoor soccer field, football field. I don't remember what was Sports City, right?
Sports City.
Sports City. Well, the folks who own Sports City were going to leave. They did leave, and they were going to leave an empty building. And our team saw an opportunity to go in there and rehab the building, which has been done. There was a very nice donation made by a former member of the Parks Board, and that, along with money that we borrowed from the sewer fund, which we're paying back with interest. It's almost like a 401k loan to yourself. We're paying it back with interest, and we're paying ourselves more interest than we would make in the market. So it's a good deal for Blue Springs. That field house is an amazing piece of the Blue Springs Parks District. Now, that being said, when you look at the city portion of the tax that you pay, the sales tax, wherever you happen to be in town, depending on whether there's a CID or a TDD, the city portion of the tax remains constant, and that's 2.5%, 1% to the general fund. We have the half-cent public safety sales tax, which paid for this building and upgraded our radio system and is really making our police department cutting edge.
Cutting edge.
Yeah. And that is a permanent tax. There's the half-cent transportation tax, and if you want to think of that money all goes into our roads program, whether it's Roanoke for $2.85 million or the overlay program every year that's spread between the council districts. That's half-cent, and that's permanent as well. And then the parks tax, which really got going in the last fiscal year, half-cent, and that's a 5-year sunset. And I'm going to just, the spoiler alert, we're going to come to you at the end of that, and we're going to ask for a renewal based on the things that we've done. We have some very cool things coming. Again, not a lot in District 1 for right now, but Burris Old Mill Park's going to get a really cool splash pad.
And
you'll be out there in the splash pad, right?
I'll be there with my grandkids.
There went all hope of seeing Jerry in a thong.
Yeah, right.
All right. So that, gosh, we got through that pretty quick. That was kind of my list of things that I wanted to talk about. I know we've got a lot of folks here who may have some questions. Did you have anything else that you wanted to hit?
Well, I just want to alliterate what District 2 had made mention about the 7 Highway and the South Avenue Signal road improvements. But on that same token, I just want to remind everybody that 7 Highway, those lights that are timed, they are controlled by the state, by MoDOT. We don't have, as a city, we do not have any control over the way they are timed, and we can try to input, but ultimately, they're the ones that sets how that goes. But 7 Highway and South Avenue, signal light, that's still ongoing. It's in the planning stages, and hopefully soon that will finalize. And I don't know if District 2, did you know a date on that? Heard any date? Maybe Susan did on that. A date on that signal light? There's not been a date, just in the planning stage.
Supposed to be starting this fall, I thought.
Yeah. Of 2019. Yeah. 2019 starting. And then for those getting their yards tore up, the AT&T and Verizon fiber installations, that's going to be going on for upgrades. And if you have issues with that or need take care of some issues, there's a phone number on the, I believe on Miranda, is there a phone number on the website where they can contact and with the contractor to make sure all that stuff gets.
Okay. Questions? Anybody on Facebook? Did we run them all off?
No questions. We had a comment about scooters breaking ground on Wednesday.
Turn your mic on.
We had a comment about scooters breaking ground on Wednesday over by Woods Chapel between Dave's Auto and Subway. So that's basically what we've got going on right now on Facebook.
District 2.
Yeah. Why don't you come up here? I mean, you got all this stuff going on in District 2.
All the coffee shops.
The developer is trying to market pads out front, and that's why that was for that.
Okay. We should also point out that this was not on our list, but the Blue Springs 8 movie theater is continuing to upgrade there. They're putting in all of the, I don't know what you call the seats, but they're the really comfortable seats.
Recliners?
Yeah, recliners. You know, you can go get comfortable and take a nap. The stadium seat. No, not stadium seats. These are actually recliners.
Recliners, yeah.
You can go in there and take a nap. I got to be careful in the afternoon going to see a matinee because I'll fall asleep. They also have a full bar in the lobby.
A full bar, yes.
So things are coming along, and there are great things ahead. We got the financial report for the rest of the year, and what a great year in the economy. I mean, everybody talked about nationally how great the economy was. The economy in Blue Springs was awesome.
Absolutely. And just some of the other remodels that happened in District 1, Walmart neighborhood store
Right.
did a major remodel.
Of course, they can't find anything now. It's going to take me about 6 months to figure out where everything went.
Well, I almost lost the store. So, and then the Harley Davidson, they did a remodel also. So it was things are happening in District 1.
Do you want to talk about this brewery that's coming?
Well, I just heard about it 24 hours.
We talked about it earlier today. We have a
Windshift Brewing Company has submitted some plans to renovate and put a place in there on Jefferson, and this would be a small brewing operation, and they've already applied for their liquor license and now going through the process of getting their plans together for the remodel. So
Out where on Jefferson?
right at almost the corner of Jefferson and Woods Chapel. It's the old Jefferson Automotive, I believe it is. Right across the street, just north of, actually, if you look you go down Duncan, on the backside of the old conservation building, it's that building right there. Or if you go down, for those that can't get lost easy, if you go down Jefferson, it's right across the street from the La Quinta, or some call it La Quinta.
La Quinta. Yeah. Do you come to District 1 often, Kent?
Yes.
Okay, good. You're welcome anytime you want to come up. Yeah.
I just thought people would be interested where it was at.
Very good. Keeping us on track. Appreciate that. Harumph. Okay, any questions?
Carla wants to know about the intersection of 40 and Moore Street. She said the potholes there are pretty bad. So if there's anything that we can get done on that.
I think we're going to have to wait for the thaw. Once we get past all this, they'll be out patching all the potholes. That's an annual thing.
That was Laura? Carla.
Sounds like Laura.
Well, Carla, I understand because I travel that very often, and some of those potholes you could almost lose a Volkswagen.
Sure. Yeah. And we're getting a record of this, so I'm sure Chris and his crew will mark that one, and when we'll get that done. And if anybody else is watching, you got a massive pothole, let us know. We'll go on pothole patrol as soon as we get rid of all the snow. Yes, sir. Hold on.
Hang on.
Hold on. Jerry's going to bring you a mic. You're going to be live on Facebook.
Live on Facebook.
Yes, sir.
This is, I think, a MoDOT situation on the corner, the off-ramp coming from I-70 east onto 7 Highway that's been a big mud hole for most of the year.
Yeah.
They're working on it, I know, but is there any plans to,
That's MoDOT.
okay.
You answered your own question right away.
And MoDOT's been working on that, and they got held up with some weather. I was talking to one just the other day, and it it's almost worse than what it was because they didn't get it done. Any other?
I don't know. Back, Mr. Casey in the back.
Thank you. I have a couple for you if you don't mind.
We've got all hour.
Back in June, the Solid Waste Commission did a presentation to the city regarding the recycling issue, the Pink Hill Center. And they made a couple of recommendations to the city council. I believe there was one to request another, do a request for proposals on another bid, maybe hopefully get some more affordable options for people this year. And another one I know that we on Green Blue Springs also supported was doing some reporting, requiring the haulers to report to the city their how much they're throwing away versus recycling. And the benefit of that, we figured, was that that would allow us as a city to be measuring and have measurable goals that we could do for waste deferment in the future. So has there been any movement on any of those recommendations? Is that something that you support?
There has not been movement on it so far. No, I support studying it and seeing where we are. I mean, I think one of the issues and the reason why the recycling center closed in the first place was because the commodity price went through the floor. I mean, nobody's buying the stuff anymore.
Right.
And as a result, it costs money to run the thing. And I think that if you go back to when we had our Facebook session from the library on the south side of town, this all came up again. And the suggestion that I think everybody there made was your hauler will offer recycling, because I know that there was the offer that, hey, we'll pay to go to the recycling center. Well, if you'll pay to go to the recycling center, why don't you pay your own hauler to take the recycled material?
Right. The only issue we found with that, we surveyed people that were going out to the center, and we found about 30% weren't going to do that. So we were concerned about the increase in the waste.
I get that. And there's also reports, and I don't know if this is true or not, that a lot of the stuff that is being set out to be recycled is ending up in the landfill because there's just no market for it. Mm-hmm. I think it's a case where recycling was done and everybody was doing it, and we got too good at it. And sometimes you can be a victim of your own success, and there's too much material, and there's not a market for it.
Moving on. The Blue Springs Spirit Council also made some recommendations to you recently, and I was wondering if there had been any movement on some of those.
Before you do that, Jared, you want to weigh in on recycling?
Yeah. As you know, Scott, there was a proposal at the time that we would change the way that we were doing and try to make it a pay, but City Council didn't feel that it was going to, at that time, take care of and pay itself. Now, you know, they were talking that even as Dale was saying, in China, they were shipping a lot of stuff was going to China, and you can't even put it on the boat now to go over, and so it is just ridiculous. I know the copper price was way up there at one time, and it's even recycling copper is not like it used to be, and it.
There is a recycling center in the Legion parking lot, is there not, on 7 Highway? And, you know, what are they doing? Are they charging people? They're not. So, in a sense, we have a recycling center in Blue Springs. Is it just metal, no glass?
Glass goes to Ripple at the Price Shoppers. They take the glass,
Right.
and the recycling center is a private entity that they do that. They put up a sign when they do get full, and they're usually, I mean, by Wednesday they've pretty much gotten full, unless you've got metal or aluminum, and they can usually accept that. But their paper cardboard bins usually fill up pretty quick.
Right. Okay. You had another question?
I wanted to ask about the Blue Springs Spirit Council's recommendations. Have any of those gotten any traction? I know one of them was like a life skills center for people for youth job training, mental health resources, things like that. Has that gotten any
No.
traction yet?
Not yet.
Okay. One more.
Okay.
With this past November, Amendment 2 was passed, and I know that we're looking at a delay in implementing that. So I was just kind of wondering what the timeline of that is going to look like. With
That's
the
medical marijuana, right?
Yep, right.
So, well, we've discussed that, and I think what we're waiting for, it's a state issue. We're waiting on guidelines from the state before we can, determine what kind of business licenses we can take. It's a process. It will unfold. I get that it's a state law, but I think I speak for everybody here. We're waiting on direction from the state.
Sure. So is the idea that we'll, once we get that direction, I think it'll be early in the summer, would we be able to implement our regulations, our zoning before the actual go live date for those licenses, so that businesses have an opportunity to plan to come here if that's what they want to do?
I'm not 100% sure what the process is. I just know that's what we're waiting for from the state.
Okay, thank you.
Jerry?
I was just going to go along with what he was saying. To me, what has happened here is that the carts just got before the horses here. We legalized something that we really don't have any regulations yet, and they haven't really even given any guidelines of doing it. They just passed a law, and they're not telling us, and the police department especially, they're up in the arms. How are you going to enforce this, or what way can you enforce it or not enforce it? And we just have to wait from the state to see what happens.
This is not the only thing from the state, by the way. The state sneezes and we all catch a cold. Because the latest thing, there's a bill back in the Missouri House that's going to tell us how we will deal with the building community. And it'll be a state directive that comes down. We're fighting that on the local end because we want local control. I mean, I have always believed that government is practiced best closest to the problem. It's, the further you get away from the problem, Washington, D.C. is a great example of that. The further you get away from the problem, the more corruption there is, the more dysfunction that there is. Let us solve the problems of Blue Springs here with this Blue Springs City Council. That's our message to the state.
And who better to know what's happening in Blue Springs than
Absolutely.
us here in Blue Springs? We really don't need no state to tell us when they don't even know what's happening here in Blue Springs.
Exactly. I mean, all of you, who are watching on Facebook, everybody here, you've got our phone numbers. You know where we live. You can come see us. You got a problem? We are the front line.
Absolutely. Susan Culpepper, Mayor Pro Tem Culpepper, say that correctly.
Is she old enough to be the mayor pro tem?
Well,
I don't know. There's a disparity.
With the new law that's going into effect, that the new commission.
They'll
anyway.
fix that.
Anyway, she brought up a deal with Marco, and I want her to explain that.
Well, I was just going to say, when we talk about recycling, Mark is looking at, that's Mid-America Regional Council, they are looking at possibly having a recycling center that would be regional, because that would help with the cost.
That's not a bad idea. See, good ideas will emerge out of all this. Anybody else?
We've got some more Facebook questions coming
Well,
in.
good. Bring 'em
Yeah.
on.
All right.
Jerry's first this time.
So Mary has asked if there's anything going in next to Quick Trip on Woods Chapel or in the old Quick Trip location.
That's District 2.
No. You keep asking about District 2.
Nobody cares about District 1. Do you know anything about what's going on with Woods Chapel and the Quick Trip?
Well, the new Quick Trip. The new Quick Trip opened up. Now the old one, they tore it down, and the developers that own that piece of property are looking to try to market pad sites out front, and so they couldn't really market those pad sites unless they took that building down. So that's why they're doing it now. Councilman Levacy and myself in District 2 are really trying to push to try to still get some sort of grocery store over in that area. We keep getting told that it depends upon rooftops, so hopefully, that will come around eventually and help that area out.
The second house I lived in Blue Springs was in District 2. It was 42nd and Jonathan Court. There are a lot of houses back there that aren't served by a grocery store. So, I mean, that's a plug to get a grocery store along Woods Chapel. They need one.
I want to remind everybody that South Library was renovated, did a major renovation, and the North Library in District
That's District
1
1, yeah.
is looking at, they're going to start in the summer 2019, starting the renovation of the North District 1 Library.
Who's next, Miranda?
We have a question from Laura, who is asking if there's any news on any downtown revitalization.
District 2. This is a District 1 town hall meeting. Do you want to take that one?
No.
Kent, do you want to take that one? No, District 1. All right.
Okay, and then
Well, Susan, you do downtown revitalization. Maybe you should take that one.
Yes.
she just wants to know if there's any news on any downtown revitalization.
There's an organization, Downtown Alive, which works heavily with all the downtown issues. Right now, they're raising funds to complete the gateway into downtown, which would be just off of 7 Highway on Main Street. They've already got the holes in the ground to start the pillars, and if the weather cooperates, we'll get that going quickly. We have several functions coming up, including the Piccadilly, to raise funds. So yes, there's a lot of things going on. We're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs looking at our downtown. So we're very excited about that.
We do have plans that came through the Planning Commission and the Downtown Review for a dental office that's going to be going in right behind the bank there on Main and 7 Highway, right in that area.
I just want to remind everybody the boundaries of District 1. So this may help you here. Everything north of I-70 in Blue Springs, and then there's a little piece of it that comes down 7 to R.D. Mize to Sunny School Road, south to 40 Highway and east. So that is the current boundary of District Number 1. Although with the population growth in District 3, we're probably going to have to change all that again at some point. But right now, that's where we are. So Miranda.
Okay.
Microphone.
All right. I had one, I lost it. Okay. Oh, you guys had already talked about, is the car wash still going in the old hotel at I-70 and 7?
No.
So you guys had addressed that. I think there's some more. Oh, people thought a Starbucks and a Trader Joe's would be good businesses to bring here.
Are they going to do it? We'll find a spot for
I
it.
believe Trader Joe's did look at it.
They did look at that particular spot and they passed on it.
Yes.
That's a tough piece of property because a lot needs to be done to that property. MoDOT is requiring the road be straightened, you know, that little hairpin turn that goes around Jefferson. They're not going to allow that. And any redevelopment that goes in there, they've got to realign the road. So the types and numbers of businesses that are going to be able to go in there are kind of limited.
And it's not, again, it's MoDOT that's requiring.
Right.
It's not City of Blue Springs. I had a person tell me that why is the City of Blue Springs requiring them to change the road? It's MoDOT that's doing the requirement.
Another state mandate.
Okay. We have one more from John. He's asking, can Blue Springs look into inspecting rental properties for codes before occupancy, like the City of Independence recently implemented?
Well, that's a good question.
Well, I know we have a landlords committee. They meet once a month here at the police department, and that would be a good time for that to be brought up into that and go down through the channels for those. There's a lot in Independence that is good that does that, but there is a lot of stuff that's in the Independence ordinance that is not really good. But it would be a good start to go attend one of those landlord meetings monthly in the Jernigan room,
In this building.
right over here.
Right.
Well, Susan, I was trying to help you out there. Any other questions? Oh, Oh, man.
We must be doing a great job.
No, we just covered a lot of
We
information.
did cover a lot of information. There's a lot of great things going on in Blue Springs. It's always been a great town. I mean, I know you've lived here longer than I have, but I've been here almost 25 years.
I've been here since 1978.
Right. So it's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise your kids. And it's getting better every day.
The thing, oh, I also want to say that the renovation of the city hall will be coming to a complete, and sometime in last part of March, first part of April, be moving into that new facility.
Right.
And just for everybody that was a little sad this year about the Christmas lighting, next year we'll have our Christmas tree at somehow there at City Hall, is what they're saying.
Right. And, you know, our government locally has been a little dysfunctional over the last few years because we've been growing and having some growing pains. This building, I mean, this beautiful building that we're in right now, we had to use the lumber yard as the jail for a while and put the police department in there. And now a lot of the city functions that would be in City Hall are back in that lumber yard. And by April, we're going to have a beautiful new facility at City Hall. You're going to have this facility. I don't know what we're going to do with the lumber yard, but it's been a great lifeboat.
We might want to keep it just in case.
Yeah. So. All right. Gosh, I think we've covered a lot of ground. We want to thank Miranda. She's been running the questions on Facebook Live.
And we want to thank Dave Watson back there in the control booth, keeping us countdown happy. And we want to thank District 1 and 2, Ken Edmondson and
2 and 3.
No, I'm thinking ourselves. And number 3.
And 3.
Anyway, hey, Kent, Susan, thanks for showing up and coming in. And then everybody, they got out in this weather. You got another question there, Susan?
No, I was just saluting.
Oh, you're saluting.
You know what? I'm used to doing those auctions, and I almost sold it to you for $150. So,
All right, be safe. Know that we've got bad weather coming again this weekend. And, well, go Chiefs, right?
oh wait, you got to do that for.
Do I have to record this for your kid, David? I will.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
your kid doesn't think that I'm the guy at Arrowhead, right?
Yeah.
That's right. So I don't have to do it, or I do?
Do it.
It's third down. Will that work? I have a bigger mic at Arrowhead. It makes me sound a lot bigger. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. This will conclude our District 1 Town Hall.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Miranda. Thank you, Dave. And thank you all for attending.